good? Is it running? Everything's running. I have the very strong belief today is going to be a goddamned train wreck. So we'll we'll see. I'm not feeling very well for my general opinion of what's going to happen today. I don't have to think. I only have to do it. Results are always perfect, and that's all there is. Would you like to hear my voice? I've been looking at this thing all week. Yeah, since Monday. I mean, you know, and I'm not sure what I'm missing. I'm missing something that keeps the authenticity of that bright muddiness underneath there, but also carries over the sense of water. And I'm not sure what I need. It's been irking me all week. So this is gonna be fun. And to add insult to injury, it's been a shitty goddamn day at work, and then it was a shitty goddamn day here when I tried playing Rocket League a little earlier. I don't want to go into how bad it was. So it's just got that whole sensation of it's gonna be a shit show the whole time. I'm not sure what I need. Add a dab, just a dab of cold. Put in with a bunch of the white that we have on the other side of that yellow ochre. I mean, I want it pale. Maybe if I just had a few of these and like a very specific patterning. This would be a good night to try to get Guinness to be a sponsor. But let's be honest, I probably have enough drunk Irishmen lining up, with depression. Not very hard to find. Well, one positive this week, our driveway's done. So it's like a shared driveway. So we had all the neighbors go in together. I should say all the neighbors, but we got pretty much, I think, 5 or 6 houses, counting ours, down this end, and another 7 or so down the other end of it. The driveways definitely need it. These things were littered with potholes. I mean, it looked like it was being managed by not Pico, by PennDOT. Like just loaded with potholes, and that's all taken care of now. If you had told me, like if you told like 20-year-old me that I'd be excited about having, fresh driveway, I'd have called you insane. I'm just thinking if we overdub this little bit, you know, there's a hint of cobalt in here, very very slight. Um, but kind of making it a consistent like overlay going up until this very dark shadowy area. And even that, I might actually then mix some more into it, and then bring it along these edges, especially if we can kind of make it have this a little bit here, maybe a little bit over here. It might be enough to trick the eye into, yeah. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, anything like that. I mean, I want it to be kind of straight, like almost like a surface tension idea. But let's see what we get. Not sure. Like I said, this is shooting in the dark. This is stuff. I'll be honest. I've been thinking about this. I mean, if I got 3 minutes to myself at work, you know, and like yesterday, today, I was looking at this painting and looking at the reference photo, trying to figure out what I need to make it work. There's always that point, and I shouldn't say like it's a point. There could be multiples throughout the time that you're painting, and you'll just feel like you're not getting it. And as I said, older me likely would have just started smashing the canvas. I'm trying not to be that guy anymore. I'm trying to work around it. The only downside is I can't really scrape this off now because it's mostly dried on here. I mean, the paint underneath is still going to be wet, but if I scraped it off, I'm not going to get much off. It's going to be, you know, it's going to get kind of messy. It's going to get bloody, Raj. In case anybody wanted me to show my age. Shit. Goddamn. West and jam. So I'm kind of thinking of what I should have probably done. Like in my head now is, but it's too late. Like I said, now you're gonna have these hardcore patterns. Even if I tried, there's so much that's just gonna be funky and chunky on it. I was thinking I probably should have actually gone with like the yellow ochreish, yeah, darker colors first, just kind of in a straight across way. So like it would be underneath, and then everything else could be flowing on top of it. But I didn't do that, and so now we got to work around it. Try to figure out another way. Jam. Shit. Goddamn. Yo, Wes and jam. So the way we're doing it now makes it more, I guess, like there's still this definite ripple effect going on under here, but it almost feels more under the surface, I guess. We'll see how it works. You know, like the Wooders, and that's not like I said, it's not really accurate to the photo, but I'm trying to get something that still makes you think that this is all water. It gets you that idea that, you know, the sediment, you know, it's there, it's visible, but I need something, a brushstroke that will merge these all together to one thing. Goddamn, get off your ass and jam. Shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam. Goddamn. So anybody watching got anything to say? Talk? Anything? Huh? What's going on? Anything? I need to get to a point where I have a lot of viewers just so I have something to keep talking about. But that can help too sometimes, you know? Like your brain goes on one subject. You know, as I've said a couple times, if you keep it art related, it's kind of nice. You can flow into it, figure something out while you're, you know, keeps the brain in the right location, but doesn't get it too far, you know, but gives you a chance to kind of distract yourself a little bit. Kind of like, you know, if they say if you're having insomnia, you know, go read a book. Don't try to lay in bed. Go do something else. But something not like overly stimulating. Not like go, you know, do push-ups or something like that. That'll wake you up. But don't watch YouTube videos and all that crap. When I hit bouts of insomnia, I tend to fall under Edgar Allan Poe for some reason. That's always been my thing for whatever, you know. I have a nice little collection of Edgar Allan Poe poems, short stories, all of it. And especially when I was near the, you know, right before my breakdown in 2017, I had lots of bouts of insomnia. So it was like, all right, you know, I couldn't sleep again last night, so I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe. It's just tricky because you can't read like one of the longer stories, so you're always looking for short stories. But I had so often it was like, I read this one. I read that one. I read that poem. I read this one. Okay, well, I'm running out of shit again. I'd found a long time ago that I could not pull out like my art books to try to do anything like that. That wouldn't calm me down enough. Like it would actually go the opposite way. Again, it starts the brain going on this. So I couldn't pull out like my. I've shown it before, but I don't know where I put it. Somewhere over there. My Van Gogh Complete Works or whatever, because it's like I'll start looking. I'll look forever. Just keep. Especially if it's like I come across something I've seen. As I said many times, you know, I don't believe you can see a painting from video or from photo or whatever. You have to see it. So when I get the photo of it, I can kind of put myself back in that place where I saw it. Mercy. I love this one. Sorry. Sorry, this is distracting. Kind of need this one too tonight. The But yeah, I can mentally put myself. It's just like I said many times with why I have these prints up here. Very rarely do I have a print on my wall that I haven't seen in person, with the exception of probably my Japanese prints when I get those. A lot of museums suck at displaying their prints. I just gotta point that out. Like I can go on if you go on the Philadelphia Museum of Art's website, they'll show you how many prints and whatever they got, but like half of them that are good that you really would like to see say not available on display. You're like, but I want that one. Like, no. It threw me for a loop a while back when I before I started doing the study I did of Yosef Israel's last breath. I had wanted to go see the painting again because I hadn't seen it since I had gone there in, we'll just say, a very sorry state, and so I wanted to see it again before I started doing the study, and they had taken it down. And they were doing they were getting ready for a show there about what's the gentleman's name? God, what was his name? It was one of the major donors to the Philadelphia Art Museum. It's out of my head now. It's been a bad day. So they were doing a lot of his stuff that he had donated. So I thought maybe they were just going to take it and put it in that show, but it was not there either. So I don't know what they did with it, where it's at currently. I'd like to see it again. I'll probably put the, as I said, when I get this thing done, when this painting's finished, before we start the next one, I'm going to put together a slide of some stuff, just like a slideshow, and so we have talk about what influences me. I mean, everybody can look and go, oh, Van Gogh. And that's easy. That's the. Oh, someone tell me when I'm blurry. Damn it! This camera. But put together a slideshow, some of the stuff, maybe the originals, and then the studies I've done of them. Yeah. Hopefully, I have a discussion. I don't know how live I can be with it. We'll figure that out. I've never tried to do something like that before. Or if there's a way I can keep my mouse getting copied, as I'm circling around these areas, so I can point out certain things. We'll all work that out though. At this pace though, because I'm telling you, I'm feeling bleh today. Yeah, I think that's what I needed to make up for what I screwed up. It works a little bit. There's actually a couple spots too where I've let the canvas show through, and I think I'm going to leave them. It gives it a little extra, strange bit of texture. Yeah. Then I think we have more kind of shady tree areas right here, reflecting down. So we're gonna just we're gonna give that same that straightforward brush stroke. No following the waves, none of that stuff. Just keep it kind of in that same motion so that it looks again very surface level. These are not things that are underneath. These are things right here. Dude, you have to. What's going on with it? Just I'm testing my levels. It doesn't look too bad. Is it too low? Too high? Popping? Camera's funky again. I know. I gotta get a better mic, and or get it out of the hell out of my way. That's one thing. So sometimes, like I said, I've gotten used to this thing now, being able to use it and use it to put my arm on. I gotta get it over here. Ah. Yeah, I'm working on it, dude. I'm trying to get. There's nothing on this side of me right now that I can hook it to. I wouldn't even want to do it with the thing that's holding my laptop here because it's a rickety old folding table. I gotta get a boom, and once I get the boom, I'll have it all hopefully taken care of. Because once it's on this side, I'm trying to paint right-handed. It's not gonna work very well. It'll hopefully it'll be better then, because then I won't have to move it as much. I won't have to reach over it. It's the pangs of being a southpaw. I apologize. I'm building entirely from the ground up on this thing, so it's like I kind of did what I could afford, and as I get better stuff, hopefully it gets better. I'm not 100% sure. I tried it. I couldn't get it in a spot that it wasn't in my way even more. I know it sounds weird, but it was like because it's right here. It was like right here, and it was a problem. And I tried to go up, maybe can hang down. I'll fiddle around with it before next time. The big one last night for me was just trying to get the actual like Ethernet cable out here, so that hopefully this time, I don't know if you've seen previous ones, but I've had some really bad times where the computer just decides, it's not going to load this stream at all, and it just spins wheels on me. So I was like, I gotta fix that. I gotta get the Ethernet out, and so I had to figure that out because this garage studio is not connected directly to my house, so I had to work that one. I found one little hole that is open between my laundry room and this cutoff section, and so I definitely did some interesting movements to get it out here. Yeah, I'll be honest. This thing's already getting technicolored. I've applied for a grant from a group called the Stobert Foundation, and they tend to focus on art instruction. That's my goal with this, is to make a kind of a art instructee type thing. That's not a word, but I put in mics and stuff from other Twitch streamers that I follow. They've posted what they use, and I'm like, all right, there's one mic I saw. It was like $160 or something. I'm like, okay, it was what John Sandman uses, and I was like, all right, John's using that. He's got good sound quality from it. I'll use that. I'll put that on the list for how I will spend my money. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I've done 15 streams so far, and this thing's turning Technicolor on me. And I'm like, do I really want to stain a $160 microphone? But again, if I were to get to that point, that sucker's over here, and it's going to be out of the way. So the boom will be coming before the better microphone. And then before the better microphone, better camera for at least the back here, so it doesn't keep getting out of focus, and can maybe zoom in and not be on my ass like it is. Right now it's tight. I don't like that. If I had my druthers, I'd be much more up and moving. But trying to pull off the stream and trying to keep the cameras without knocking them over. It's a fight. Yeah, so I'm hoping. You know, it's all a matter of trying to figure this shit out. I don't think anybody. I mean, you can follow examples to a degree, but if everybody's doing something different, there's no roadmap. I've used the quote a lot about painting, but it's kind of a similar thing with the streaming. Is Manet used to say that painting is like jumping into water without knowing how to swim, and he meant that for every painting. It's not the first. You know, he meant every time you're painting, you have no idea what you're doing. You're not sure of what's going on before you start doing it. And I think it's kind of a. I mean, eventually you should know what you're doing when you're streaming, but there's no. The closest I have to what I want to do, sort of, and this is very loose, would be someone like Bob Ross's Joy of Painting show. But my intention is not to have everybody do this with little dashes and everything like I do it. I'd like stuff, like I'd like people to try to maybe paint in a similar motif. If they want to paint off of the same reference photo, go for it. You know, we can have conversations and critiques later on, hopefully. So it'd be much more interactive than, say, Joy of Painting ever was. I will swear a hell of a lot more than Bob Ross ever will. Or would. You can't now. If he's swearing now, we've got problems. Yeah. And anything I used to know about video production, I used to be, high school radio station, all that stuff. It's all gone because it's all different. Everything's wildly different now. Need some medium. Large medium in there. I was working on a painting. This is before I started streaming. Before I started streaming here, I used to stream on my Facebook page, but I figured I wanted to get to Twitch too. And I was doing this painting of some boats on Boston Harbor, and it's the water takes up 90% of the canvas, and I wanted to put down just some base cerulean blue, and I put it in, and I put it in thick. I put it in with a lot of artist medium in there, supposed to keep it wet. And then the next day I came in, and the whole fucking thing was dried. And I turned to the camera and I was like, Bob Ross said there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. I was like, this is a big fucking mistake. There's no fucking happy accident. So I had to redo the whole fucking thing, and I did not want to do it. I had to just go right back over it with cerulean again, because I like to mix on canvas. I like those little moments where, this little light blue that we've mixed will pick up some of the oxide chromium and carry it with it, and it just gets that little, So it's when it doesn't do that, I'm not in a happy place. So thank you. I've said many times I consider myself a student of Vincent's. I don't nor I never did consider that I'll stay this way forever. I just need to find what I'm looking for out of it first. It would have been easier if I had just kept painting since I graduated, but I kept having these little in and out moments where once I was trying to break into comics, and my brain doesn't work in a way that, like, comic art to me is very different than this. thinking sequentially rather than a single piece can kind of, it's a different mindset. So I couldn't paint when I was doing that stuff. And then I was working 2 jobs for a while, and so I mean there was literally no time. I was working 80 hours a week, so my time not working was sleeping, and trying to be there on occasion for my kids. So, yeah, I probably would have found what I was looking for by this point, but a couple of years had other stuff to get in the way. And then there was a period where I just didn't paint at all. I had been painting, and one day when I was in here working on a painting of my son, um, I got news that a friend of mine had died, and it was a very close friend, and it came out of nowhere. It came out of left field, and the thing that I was painting of my son, the painting was of my son. My son's very skittish with animals, especially big ones. He doesn't like little dogs, but he can tolerate them. Big animals scare the hell out of him usually. And we were at a Dutch Wonderland, and we were on that people mover thing, above the park, and he looked down and saw the horseback rides. And he just looked at me and said, "Daddy, I want to do the horseback ride." I said, "Okay." Anytime he's gonna take that bravado, it's like I'm trying to encourage that. So I was doing this painting based on a photo I had taken of him riding horseback, because I was so proud of him, that very seize the day type moment. My buddy who died had literally had "Carpe Diem" as his life motto tattooed on his arm. So like the two moments, I mean, I was literally just about finished that painting, and the news came, and so it was like the art and the death became one. And I tried to do another painting after it, and I couldn't do it. It was everything was wrong. Nothing worked. I ended up taking a knife to the canvas, and then I just sealed up my studio. And I mean, we use it for storage. I mean, you can see all this shit in the background, I think. So I came in when I had to get something. But as far as working goes, my brushes sat in turpentine for 3 years, and the canvas even that I sliced had been laying down on the floor, like it's just I wasn't coming back in here for it for a while, and it took till I had a complete breakdown a few years later, and my shrink literally prescribed me art. We started talking about it, and he's just like, you need to go to museums again. He says you need to surround yourself with it, and you need to start making it again. And so started painting again in March of last year and haven't stopped. Let's get a couple of stashes in there. All right, I gotta step back for a sec. I guess I want to take a look at it from a distance. I'm too close. This little light blue is definitely working. It's just needs. Yeah, that shit's not fun. There's hold on. Alexa, skip. Damn it. Yeah, it was not cool. I'm glad that you're working it out and got past it. It's it's like one of those things where it's so fuzzy. You know what I mean? Like I had to take a uh, medical leave or whatever for I did it for 2 months. I wanted to keep out longer, but unfortunately, my company is notorious for its bureaucracy, and so they didn't uh, really figure shit out. So I was not getting paid at all. Like, it was supposed to be getting like full paycheck for medical leave for I think it was supposed to be for the first 2 months or 2.5 months, something like that, and then after that I would be 80%, and they weren't paying me. So I was like, I have to go back. I didn't want to because I wasn't ready. So now it's like my daily life is just trying to keep where I was versus where I thought I could have been had I been out a little longer. But dude, that's awesome. And the best thing, I keep at it. You know, whatever. The only advice I can do, and it's the one thing I fight with every day, is trying not to bring like my work home, because that's what caused it. Was like, well, like I said, my friend's death was definitely a start of the snowball. But work was a huge part of it too, and it still is a major pain. I need to get out of there, and I've been searching. I haven't been able to find it yet, a way out. But it's very, very important for me not to bring it in here, because it just can ruin everything. It's kind of funny. I don't know where you're from or anything, but I'm outside the Philadelphia area, and there's a road I-476 here called the Blue Route, and it's god awful road. It's just nothing but traffic all the time. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. But every day I sit in there for an hour or so on the way home, and there's this one little stretch where I always seem to get stuck, and there's this lovely hill that's actually on the northbound side, but you can't see it going northbound because where you're driving. So, but when you're going southbound, you can look over, and because it's not leveled anymore, you're literally looking at the hill and barely can notice the traffic. So I decided I was going to do a painting of this one day, and I stopped. I took a photo of it so I could, bring it home with me and work on it. And I decided I was going to work on it in wintertime because it's gray and desolate around here a lot. And it was I started trying to work on it, but because I started working around the holidays, and around the holidays my work turns to shit. It's like everybody's taking off, so everybody else's workload who can't take off goes to the roof, and I wasn't not bringing it home. It was coming home with me every day, and I was having a hell of a time with this painting, and so this place where it's usually the place where I'm dropping my daily work. Like I'm literally looking at the green hill. And I can let go. So this painting I'm doing to this spot where I can let go, I couldn't let go, and it was like really fucked up. And I ended up, I'm listening to music now, obviously, and all sorts of stuff, and nothing was working. So I stumbled upon a violinist. And apparently she's very famous. I didn't know at the time. But I had seen an ad on the Philadelphia Orchestra earlier that day for a woman named Hilary Hahn. So I was like, I went looking up for Bach, and there's her name. So I was like, all right, let me see what this is about. And I put on her album, Hilary Hahn Plays Bach, and I don't remember anything except for listening. I must have, I know I kept working because once the album stopped, there was more paint on the canvas. So it's this weird little moment I have of this painting of a place where I would get rid of work. I couldn't finish it unless I was listening to this woman playing violin. And now it's at a point where I don't consider that painting mine anymore. I'm actually going to mail it up to her agents or whatever, and just be like, give it to her and tell her to do whatever the hell she wants with it. I just don't want this in my house anymore. I can't sell it. I can't give it away. It's not mine. I'm going to write a note and explain all that stupid stuff. Like, look, I'm insane. But please get rid of this for me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, it's just, but it was that seize the day kind of moment, and it's just, look, I hate to admit it, but part of that motto is what killed my buddy. He lived a fast and hard lifestyle, and it was a. And like I said, once it got mixed in my head with that painting, that's another one I won't allow in my house anymore. I used to try to hide it behind other paintings, but I had to actually, when I started working again, trying to get serious about doing this stuff again, I had to flat get it out of the house. I couldn't have it in here, so I put it. My folks have a storage facility. I was like, it's going there. I need to put it away in there. All right, a little bit of oxide chrome in here too. I'm gonna. All right, and I'm gonna have to actually take a quick breather. Oh, what happened there? Did it just fade out on me? God, it better not be doing the. It looks alright. Just want to make sure. I live in such paranoia now of this thing actually like crapping out on me again. It used to like. If you want to see a horrible thing, look at the video from not this past. I guess it was Sunday's video, so it would have been 2 videos ago. It's awful. It's garbage. The whole thing started about maybe halfway through. It started just spinning wheels. No, dude, it's fine. I'm gonna take a step away. Actually, I gotta put my kids to bed, so I'll be right back. For anybody else that's watching, is not really paying too much attention. But all right, so I'll be back in hopefully only a few minutes. Hopefully they got all their wooders and all that crap. So see you in just a few. goes back in. Alexa, resume. Okay, make sure it's the same thing. And honestly, dude, it's, like I said, we don't have to worry about getting too deep. I've got very, very comfortable. Comfortable's not the right word, but I'm very used to talking about it at this point. So, it's it's one of those things. You gotta. Almost everything I do now, in some way, shape, or form, relates to it. So I might as well be honest about it. Um, like this bridge here. This was actually my work, well, the old building was near this trail, Trewin Farm Trail. I think that's what it was. Um, so if you left my old office building, you could actually just hang a right, and you were like right there, like literally right there. And once I kind of came back from everything, I'd head here every day. Well, not every day, but often. Um, any day that was starting to get really fucking bad, it was like I gotta head here. So one day I went out there with my good camera and just took a bunch of shots along the trail, and I was like, this bridge was a really nice place to just kind of hang out because I'm near work, but you can't see it from there. The trail, if it were followed a bridge around here, the trail would loop around like up this way, and then you'd have to go up a winding little path to get up towards where you could actually see my old building. So it was nice just to be able to leave that rotten hellhole for a few moments, and you walk the whole trail. I mean, you could spend a full hour lunch break walking that whole trail. It was and I did it sometimes in dead of winter, and which was very interesting because the snow doesn't melt back there, and when it does finally start melting back there, it's makes the ground very, 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 very muddy. It was always fun coming back in the office building with my dress work shoes covered in mud. It was entertaining. We'll fix that again. It's kind of straightforward. Oh, yeah, mixing that in with that, I think works. We need something slightly darker though. That light blue is good. I don't want to get too deep. Not that deep. In between, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was like an older bridge. I can't be 100%. I don't know enough of the history of the bridge to tell you whether or not. Oh, that's too much like the other color. Shit. That's not what I wanted. I want something a little deeper. I can't tell you whether it was legitimately old or just made to look old. The area, it's out near Ambler, PA, and it's there's a lot of actual old stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that they fake to look old. So it looks, yeah. So it's a hard place to really nail down. Yeah, a little bit nice, just a nice difference there. It's just enough. So I honestly couldn't tell you if it's legitimately from that time period. Oh, Australia, cool. I mailed some work there one time, very long time ago. When I was trying to break into comics. Um, there's a radio station here, uh, WMMR, and they have a morning show called Preston and Steve, and they do podcasts and stuff. And there was a guy from Australia. Um, I think his name was Max, if I remember correctly. Who was a huge fan of the podcast, so he would listen from there. And I did a comic book for the morning show because one day they talked about what their superpowers would be, and it made me laugh. And I just did some sketches, and they were like, "Dude, you have to make this happen." They said, "Whatever you need, we'll get you a printer, we'll get you whatever." So I did end up doing 2 issues of it, and the guy contacted me and was like, "I want to buy one of the pages that has them all on it." He goes, "Because I don't know who's who as far as like actual people." I tried to tell him, like, dude, they're not drawn as if they, it's not a portrait. But he's like, if you've got a hint of who they are, because he goes, I look at pictures sometimes and I try to figure out which one's which. He's like, I want to get better at it. I was like, all right, well, fine. All I have to say is if you end up ever being like this guy, because I think his name was Max. They got him on the show one time because he had come to visit the Philadelphia area, and his travel guide got him a hotel in Camden, New Jersey, which is outside of Philadelphia. Don't ever fucking stay there. It is not a touristy, welcoming area. Just a FYI, because as Max was recounting that next morning when he got onto the show, he said, "Yeah, my tour, the travel agency put me up in Camden," and he says, he goes, I'm driving with my rental car, and I go past an area, and there's some guys that look really, really sketchy, and one dude was kind of on his knees as other guys were standing around him, and he was like, I hurried up past there to get to my hotel, and he goes, next morning I hear on the news that somebody got shot in Camden. And he's like, I may have watched that person, like literally may have been right there. So don't ever stay in Camden. Just that's a little hint if you ever come to the Philadelphia area. Center City is expensive, but Philly is a nice area where you can get around easily once you're actually in the Center City area. Little hint. My wife wants to visit your country. That's fine, dude. At this point, it's pretty low on everybody else's list, too. My wife and I want to go to visit you guys. Everything there wants to kill you. She's wanted to go for years, but right now, trying to get the idea of getting passports with my whole family is just so expensive. But we're going to have to do it soon anyway because they've changed the rules around for what's acceptable even for domestic flights. And Pennsylvania does not, our state IDs do not fit these new rules, so we have to get a passport in order to actually, if we just need to fly state to state. So and you, like I said, you couldn't offend me. We were looking into whether or not I qualified to be able to be taken as a refugee in Ireland and could bring the family with me. I was one generation out. If my dad had applied for dual citizenship before, I forget what year it was, I could have qualified, but nah. Let's see. Let's see something. Gonna have to have a talk with Katie. Viridian. Okay, that might help here. Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That's on my definitely on my lists. I did a study as part of like the again kind of rebuilding process of Hiroshige's. I know I'm going to say it the wrong way because it's the westernized version of saying is Asakusa, but I think it's Asaka. Tanbo Tori no Machi mode. And here, let me rip it off the wall. Yeah. Damn it. Oh, there we go. New chairs probably before the new microphone too. All right. Is that showing up there? I got a delay, so I gotta wait a second here to see how well it's doing. All right. So that way. There we go. That's the Hiroshige print. I did a copy of it. Primarily because I was viewing myself in a way as that cat. Yeah, sorry, seat doesn't move very well. I've wanted to see Fuji for God knows how long. You know. That's like my main goal. It's just to see Fuji. If I could see Fuji with my own eyes. My friend's like, oh, there's only like 2 times a year you can summit it. It's like, I don't want to summit it. I don't want to climb the damn thing. You know? I just want to see it. You know? So I did that painting as a concept of hope. You know, like something to look forward to. You know, I'm that cat in that window, and Fuji's off in the distance, and I can't get there. But I will one day. And I don't care if it's from that far away. That is the only way I could see it, but I will see it. Go right ahead. I'm not a mountain climber. I'm alright. I just want to. I'd love to be able to take a canvas and just. The only downside is I don't know whether I can get a view like in that print anymore. Yeah, I'd have to really. Every now and then I go on like Google Maps, and oh yeah, it's no, I got you. Yeah, it is. It's just cool. There's not many perfect like. I mean, it's almost like precise. God damn it, Alexa, skip. Why do this to me? Keeps trying to shove down deflator mouse on my like. Just a few. No, it's not. You know, I've liked this since I was a kid. I did a like 2nd or 3rd grade. I wrote a story about for a creative writing class of a sumo wrestler that broke Fuji and ended up eating the pieces. And it was strictly so I could just draw it in the self-made illustrations that we did. Being a little older, I know how disastrous it would be if someone actually broke Fuji like that. Like, I mean, it would like crumble because he's so fat. Brent, Sienna, and a little yellow ochre. See what we get. Damn, my wife is thundering up there. What's she doing? Do you hear us hear the stomping footprint? Like, footbeats up there? It's just... I can't say it. I can't be sure it's my wife, actually. Could be my daughter. She's notorious for... I forgot this thing downstairs, and then she runs downstairs. And anything to keep from going to bed. Oh, I'll have to check that one out. I'd watched, I think, Wild China on there before. I'll have to pull that on. Hold on. Before I forget. No. Alright, screwed it up again. Alright. This might be a regional thing. I got Wild China, and that's already on my list. That's definitely one I saw. Wild France. Really? Not showing up. Shit, this might be like a... kind of like how Britain got like Monty Python earlier. We still haven't gotten here on the U.S. Netflix again. Shit. Let me try something else here. See if I can find it somewhere else. Let's put it on the list at least. Alright, that'll work. And it's not going on my Netflix, but again, it could be. Yeah, see, it must be a regional thing. That's sucks when Netflix does that. I mean, I get it, I understand it, but it still sucks. I'll throw it on the Amazon wish list, though, at least. It'll at least keep it in my head. Even if I can't get the... It's not, I mean, it's not on the Prime, free watches or anything like that, but at least it'll keep it in my mind. It's only $8. I'll probably end up... Next paycheck, I'll probably end up doing it. Just a few of these. A couple places just to make it. See, we haven't gotten it. We haven't gotten it back. I mean, my kids and I just, I finally got my kids to sit down and watch Holy Grail. My son wants to watch the Flying Circus legitimately because he's heard me talk about like the Spanish Inquisition and the parrot sketch. And I mean, you can go on YouTube obviously and get them if you really want to, but it's like I want to still sort of support them if I can. You know, like I can't afford to get the whole box sets and stuff, but if I can at least show them in proper context, I guess. I don't know. I almost disowned my daughter because of the when we first put on Holy Grail. Because she just started immediately. This isn't funny. Now my youngest daughter she's just turned 8, but I mean she is like 100 pounds of attitude in a 3-pound bag. She's just if she's not in the mood for something. It is a chore just to get her past it, and so she didn't want to watch that movie. She wanted to watch something else. What was it? I think she wanted to watch Hop. I think that's it. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, those are the ones I told them about. I mean, when I first joined Netflix, God, this was 2010. When I first started doing the streaming, they had it on there, and I would watch it all the time. Yeah, like every day on my lunch break. I'd go out in my car because I used to, if I couldn't take a nap that day because I was being me. This is at my older job. This is before the stressful one. I'd go and watch Monty Python. Then I found out how much data I was using and went, maybe I want to cut it back a little bit. I did have unlimited at the time, but on the old grandfathered plans, but there's still a lot. But I know my son would definitely dig it, especially anything that falls under kind of historical. He'll crack up. See, but I love the bizarre stuff too. Do you mean actor or like sketch or movie? If I had to go actor-wise, it'd be probably Cleese. Probably I'd say actor-wise. Movie-wise, instinctively I want to say Grail, not just because it's like that was my first intro to them. But I'm a big fan of Meaning of Life too. That's a hard one. Like, your first is actor-wise, I'd say it's Cleese. I just love he's his deadpan is just spot on, and I appreciate that when someone can say something absolutely, inane and just I don't know. Idol's close. Second, just if for no other reason than the European Vacation. I lost it when just go that way and Bloodsport. I couldn't get it back, and the fact he never, breaks polite British man. I lost it on that one too. That's a tough one. Because I'm thinking about Bright Side of Life. That's Idol. But see, Idol gets knocked down a few pegs because of the whole Disney Journey into Imagination fiasco that he was part of. I know it wasn't, he got paid to do a gig, but that's that's just one of those. That's a foul. So I gotta go for that. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, um, since you're not coming over to the U.S. anytime soon, I don't know if you've been here before, but in Disney they used to have this Journey to Imagination with Figment, little purple dragon, and what was the guy's name? Dreamcatcher or something like that. He was it was the guy who created Figment. Um, yeah, okay, so, okay, yeah. It was this really amazing, very creative ride. Um, and I know, like I said, it certainly wasn't his fault. And it boils down to kind of a pissing match that occurred between Kodak and Disney when Kodak was starting to lose a lot of money because digital photography was kicking in and hurting their business, and um, Disney wanted them to revamp this Journey into Imagination, and Kodak was like, "We don't have the money for it," because he said you're contractually obligated to, or we'll sue you. And then they said, "Well, this is all we can give you." So they made this new version of the ride, which was just garbage. I don't know how to put it. And Eric was the professor at the Institute of Imagination or something weird like that. And there was no real reference to Fidget. There was zero reference at all to the Dreamcatcher. And what was the name of the song? There was a song that was like just like the main thing of the ride originally, and they cut that out. And so it was this whole big thing, and then they kind of tried to meet everybody in the middle, and they ended up adding Figment back into the ride. Still no Dreamcatcher. They did have the song come back into it at the very end, and but it's just that it's nowhere near as good as it was. And so I gotta take points off. He's got to lose a little something for that. I guess because I can't imagine that it's Eric Idle. I mean, I know Disney's going to be like, this is what we want, but yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that story too. They had the yeah. No, I know that one from. I used to sell electronics for Sears. That was the second job, and so yeah, I have a whole history of digital cameras that we basically had to learn. Yeah, Kodak definitely screwed the pooch on that one. And then when they tried to play catch up, it was just they were way behind, and they still tried to focus way too much effort on their little printers rather than actually. I'm not as damning of the Disney Star Wars. Um, they're still better than the prequels. Are they as good as the originals? No. I think a lot of the hatred for Last Jedi. Look, it's not perfect. I don't want to ever come across it. I'm trying to really, really defend this movie, but the I think there was a lot of extra hatred for Last Jedi based on people not getting uh, their own story from their head, their head canon, I guess is the phrase, coming out on the screen. Yeah, they Like when people freak out about the fact that Snoke has no history. We don't know who he is. I don't know. Don't get rid of the Ewoks just yet. I don't know if my son's played. He plays Battlefront. He says the Ewok like hunt thing they have going on in that now is like terrifying because they just pop out of nowhere. So they actually made them almost mildly threatening. Um, Now just go back to Snoke as an example, because there were a lot of people like, oh, we have no history on him. We don't know anything about him. We don't, and he was a really powerful guy. It's like if you take the original Star Wars movies at face value, again, we could talk about books and all that crap, but then if you take that into account, you got to take in comics too that are out now, and they explain a lot more. We knew nothing about the Emperor. We knew nothing about him in Empire, and we knew next to nothing about him in Jedi. He didn't get a story really until the prequels and the prequels. So when people give that shit, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to give that shit. I'm a little disappointed that we don't know anything about Rey, that she doesn't seem to have any. Well, yeah, I mean, I want. I think that's the biggest problem I have with it would be that Rey, by not giving Rey a background, and I get the whole idea that anybody could be a Jedi is what they were kind of going for. That the Force will find you, will make you, I guess. Well, that's framed badly. But that that I think hurt it though, is that Rey's just somebody who seems to be suddenly powerful with the Force, and I mean, Snoke talks about balancing itself out, and so Kylo's powerful, so she's got to be powerful. That's not my yeah. That's the biggest fault I have with it. I don't have a problem with like Luke going into hiding after he screwed the pooch with Kylo. I know some people had about that. It's like, dude, look at what Ben did. Ben cut off his buddy's legs and then left him there at the side of a volcano instead of doing the humane thing and putting him down. And then ran off and hid. So, yeah. But yeah, they should have given Rey something. Rey should be somebody. And they're not entirely locked into that yet. I mean, for all we know, Kylo was lying. JJ can switch that. Part of the issue too is that J.J. Abrams is really good at making questions, and he's really terrible at answering them. That's another thing that's hurting it. So hopefully he doesn't do that in the next one. Rogue One should have been better. The problem I think I have with that one is that like stuff happened around Jin rather than to her. Does that make sense? Like she didn't seem to be very proactive in her own storyline. I mean, say what you will, but at least Rey saved herself. Whereas Jin just always seemed to be in the situation and somebody else got her out of it or whatever. Not that they saved themselves in the end, but where it's going to get complicated because there's little rocks under here. So I got to make sure I'm giving it this implication without getting... I kept waiting for... Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I don't know if there was a way they could have done both. You know, like given us a history for Rey that, you know, I didn't want her to be another Skywalker, but the idea of having her like the grandchild of Ben or something would have been awesome. Um, yeah, some people were even saying like a actually having her be like a Palpatine. You know, relative of something would have been awesome. I think. Yeah, there's a couple different ways they could have done it, but and then try to figure out another way that they could have done. And anybody can be also be touched by the Force. I don't know how they could have really pulled both off. Finn might have been the answer. Yeah, just because if you watching Force Awakens, when Snoke's talking about the awakening, Rey hasn't done anything yet that would really imply that she's Force sensitive. But Finn had woken up, kind of thing, from his, brainwashing or whatever. And I feel like they probably could have pulled that off, given him something, I don't know. And then that would have given them that whole, here's a nobody, that suddenly became Force sensitive. And then you could do the little thing with the kid at the bottom, at the end of the movie. No L7 right now. Alexa, skip. I know. Yeah. But having somebody, not really looking for it, I guess, like, obviously, like, Luke was, 16, roughly, 17, I think it was 16, right? When he's supposed to be in the first movie. I think the biggest problem if Lucas had stayed in charge of Star Wars is Lucas stopped having no people around him. And I think if he had kept and made the sequels, if he made 7, 8, 9, I don't know whether we would have been any happier. I know, he's got his own head games of, obviously he created it, and that's totally understandable. But the prequels are a clear sign of somebody who didn't say no to him. I think it was his ex-wife, right, that used to, like, she's the one who like re-edited, she had done the editing, I think, on New Hope, which made it a lot story was at the time. So if he had gotten somebody to maybe know him on occasion, it might have we'd be in a better spot. But I think he's George at this point. Nobody will tell him no. You know. I saw a YouTube video. The if it's God, who was the what was the channel? Shit. There was a YouTube video about the prequels, which was actually it was like, what if episode 1 was really good, and what if episode 2 was really good. Shit, I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. It's a really good. I thought it was a good story, but then they did it all. They made it a good way of making callbacks without being like super. Here's C-3PO, like type thing. What if? There we go. Belated Media, that's their name. Okay, come on, stop it. Okay, wait, no, I don't want to have it running. I'm gonna take that. Oh, not that one. This one. Yeah, that's another one. Unfortunately. Wait, did I get that right? Hold on, just to make sure I got the right one. Okay. Didn't look right for a second. That's the first one. Which does a really good job, I think. And I don't know if you ever see Red Letter Media's Mr. Plinkett's reviews. They do a good breakdown. I think it's actually in the Indiana Jones, in the Crystal Skull review. I think it's in that one. But he does a very good explanation of kind of what went wrong with Lucas and with Indiana Jones as well, because he basically explains that, when they made the original and when Alexa, skip. Getting tired. I'm going to take that album off of my list. When they made the originals, they were young, challenging directors. And then when they came back to the prequels and when they came back to Crystal Skull, now they're old guys making movies for their grandkids. And if you start to think about it like that, a lot of the prequel shit that went wrong, Jar Jar and poop jokes and all that stuff starts to go, yeah, that's what an old person thinks that kids find funny. And I mean, sure, kids do, but that's not necessarily... Kids find other stuff funny, And I love pointing to the great example that my son's very much into Star Wars. He has been since he was a little kid. He's loves stormtroopers. He loves them to death. If the Empire was real, my son would sign up immediately to be a stormtrooper. But the thing was, he wanted to watch them when he was real little. I mean, 3 years old, I guess. Right? We'd moved into this house, and he wanted to watch Star Wars. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, what do I show him? Do I show him in order, or do I show him number order? And I was like, well, I guess 1 is kid friendlier. I guess I'll go number order. And I put episode 1 on for him, and he was into it until the exact moment that Jar Jar hit the screen. Jar Jar hit the screen, and my son noped right out the room. It was just he looked at it, and I'm done. Went grabbed his Thomas trains and started doing other stuff, and he didn't watch the rest of the movie. So I crack up at that because it's like, here's something that was literally directed. I mean, he was 3 years old. It doesn't get more childish than that, as far as what you're expecting a character like that to hold attention to, and nothing. He lost it. Flipping through the channels, like, probably like 2 months later, FX was running one of their marathons, and we happened to catch Darth Maul's, that whole thing, that lightsaber fight, and damn, he locked in on that one. Yeah. Oh, my boy's interesting. I'll give him credit on that. He's always been on an entertainment level well beyond his age. He's he knows his stuff. He's very big into like history on all sorts of levels. So not just, I mean, he loves like actual world history, but he likes history of movies, how things are made. He likes to see the little things like that all the time. When he was, again, kind of the same age group, 3, 4, 5, like all kids, he's into dinosaurs. Well, he was not just into dinosaurs, he would be into like the actual act of paleontology, as in, what they really were doing, not just like, oh, here's a dinosaur. He was interested in the whole how they dig them up and how they move them, and he would watch Walking with Dinosaurs, like much more meant for grown up kind of ideas of dinosaurs, and he'd watch that, and then he'd go through and watch the documentaries on how they made it, so that he would know how, when they switched from puppet dinosaur to live dinosaur, and as he kind of goes into the Star Wars history now, and it's very entertaining. He cracks me up. He's about to go into middle school, and one of the things they were talking about for 6th graders is that they can't do any sports because the Pennsylvania PIAA or whatever doesn't allow 6th graders to compete against other schools. So they're limited what things they can do, and one of them, though, that they can do is student government. And my wife and I were joking around as we're at the meeting last night. We just said, Vince is going to go into student government, and he's going to use all his historical knowledge, and probably shit he picked up from the emperor, and have a coup and take over the student government and turn it into a dictatorship. It's like, I can unfortunately see my son doing that, at least trying it. I can't wait for that phone call. Thankfully, I have a buddy that's a teacher at that school, and I'm hoping, he's a social studies history teacher, so I'm hoping he'll cover me. I wouldn't put it past him. He cracks me up all the time because, look, before the breakdown, I was already bad with memory, but it's been worse since, and I've never been good with dates. History interests me, art history much more than world history, but he'll sit there and start, Daddy, what about this, event that happened 20 years before World War I? They say that this played out and had this, blah, 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 and this fell into that. Didn't this empire turn into... And I'm like, I have no idea, Vincent. I'm like, dude, you are so far beyond where I am with my knowledge of this. He just, it's cracks me up because he really is. He's going to blow some of the people's minds when he gets to the middle school. We get it every year with his teachers because they start talking to him about, well, we were saying this thing or that thing, and all the other kids right over their heads. And Vincent picked right up on it. But then give him like a creative writing or a reading assignment, and he's not gonna get that one. Well, it's sixth grade only, so seventh grade they're back into it, and I mean, there's enough community stuff that it's balanced out. Like Little League goes through sixth grade, so not that he's in Little League anymore. He stopped doing that, but if he'd still been in baseball, he'd go through baseball through that way. Like he does karate on his own, not on his own, but outside of the school or whatever. So it's the area balances itself out, I guess. Then once seventh hits, kids want to go to sports and all that, they can go. And they have other things they can do. What was some of the clubs they've said? Like, I mean, most of them are more academic clubs for sixth grade. But at the same point, they have this sixth grade compared to what they went through in elementary school is going to be a shocker, and how they switch between classes, they go through their whole things, So, yeah, I mean, it's a community center karate class, so it's a little loosey-goosey comparatively to, like, say, like, I don't even know what a chain, I'm trying, or like a, I think of like Tiger Schulman's when I'm because of my age, but like or Cobra Kai, whatever. Like it's not like one of those hardline schools of it, but the teacher Alex, he's a kid that has he's not a kid. I mean he's in his 20s now, but you could tell he was someone that probably had a lot of nerve issues when he was a kid. So he has sometimes he a unique speaking style to the kids. That's the best way I can put it. So I think if you're like a new parent coming in there, because like when I first saw him, like, does this guy know his stuff? But then when you see him practice on his own, like if he's trying to remember kata for the next test for somebody, you realize how he knows his stuff. And he's a little more forgiving sometimes when the test comes. So if Vincent starts doing one kata instead of the other, because they're right next to each other in name, he might back him out of it a little bit. But we do try to tell him, like, look, you need to pay attention to what this is really about. It's not just about the katas. It's more about the focus that it's supposed to be teaching. And he'd been kind of losing it this past round. He's catching back on to it. There's an older kid in his class that's been a purple belt now for like 6 sessions. I mean, this kid does not seem to be able to pass his test because he doesn't put the effort in. And I basically told him, I was like, you will not be him. You are not new Shane. It's like you will get this done. It's like if you want to stop, then we're going to find something else for you, but you're not sitting on your ass playing video games all day. He gets plenty of time with that. I know he's really good at it. He could probably go competitive for like Fortnite or something, but he's not until he actually has balance. Jesus Christ. I'm actually taking a second to look at it. There's a lot of fucking brushstrokes in that. I think I'm actually going to stop. Not because I think I'm done with the water, but I'm at a point where I can't tell how it's going to relate. So when I say stop, I'm not stopping painting. I'm just going to stop the water for now. Because there's so much going on there. So I think we're going to start building to these areas. Yeah, so we're going to flip our palette. This, I need that blank area. And what do we need? So stones are going to have very similar tones to these ones, which makes sense. They were using stones from the area. A lot of sense. That means touching you. That's all that's left in here, really. Brush. That's the one I wanted. If you got a site with your stuff, but by all means, please share it. I will be quickly over there. Okay, Geek Arcs Live. Okay. Maybe I'll host him after I'm done. Let's see here. Need this array. Not too much. Go that. A little cobalt. colors again later, but actually, you know what I want? Before I really get too deep in this, I'll take a little French ultramarine, because the other one's dried the hell up. Just want to have some wet here. So I can start doing lining on these. Most of these rocks back here will end up covered up actually, because there's all this heavy branching shit here. See, I'm already starting to lose it. That's why I wanted to do this. I need this. Like that. Right now. Sucks trying to work around this thing. Alright, I gotta get this thing fixed at some point. Just to get a hint of where these shadows are. Just get some separation there. I forgot to check. It's been a long time since I looked at it. It's a little fuzzy. I still do not know what it is with these cameras. These cameras are little shitty webcams that should not fade out of focus at all. There is no autofocus on them or any of that stuff. They have to be manually turned. That's a little better. Drives me nuts. Alright. It's like the pirate said when he walked into a bar with a steering wheel on his crotch. It's driving me nuts. It's horrible. Horrible joke. Before I get too heavy on that one. This is pretty much all shadow right there. And this is that one. Come on, gimme. It's funny. This is one of these brushes. How's it going? not pirate related, but last night I was, or not last night, Monday night. I forget what I was working on something, and I was liking what was coming, so I started going, all right, all right, all right, and it made me think of this terrible joke where it's, I think it's supposed to be George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Matthew McConaughey are all sitting around the table talking about working together, and George says, "I'll produce, I'll put up the money for it," and Brad says that, I'll direct, and Matthew McConaughey says, "All right, all right, all right." Awful. I told him. I immediately thought of Eddie Izzard Dressed to Kill when he does the trombone joke or whatever. It's such a shit joke. So he says. I just immediately thought of that. There we go. I like the little blue actually popping out a little more. Actually, oh, look at that. Huh. French Ultramarine took a little over there. I like it. So who are your influences, by the way? I mean, you said you paint too. Who do you? Yeah. Who would you say you're most like? You said yeah. Do you, oh yeah, I know. Yeah. I was pissed off. He'd come to Philly for a show, um, but unfortunately at the time I used to work for the Phillies too. Uh, yeah, yeah, in art. Yeah, trying to think of something. But he'd come to Philly for a show, and unfortunately, the Phillies were in town, and when the Phillies are in town, when you work for them, you're working. You're not supposed to be elsewhere. So I had to miss him. But yeah, yeah. Like who would you say like your top influences? You said you paint. I guess more realist than right. Try to think. Some of my buddies from art school were very realist. I'm trying to think if they were into like Sargent was one I remember. Um, my studio mate Kevin was really into it at the time. There you go. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is why we wear specifically pants for painting. Sorry, I got distracted. the no, that's cool. Um, I love landscapes. I wish I could do this out here, like literally be there. That's my preferred way. If I could do that more than anything else, I would. But Work schedule being what it is, unfortunately, I'm stuck. You'd figure the weekends would offer me some time to be able to paint outside or something, but unfortunately, like weekends end up being like everything else. It's tricky from working from life though, like when it comes to yeah, no, I'm with you. I wish and like I said, I don't I only will paint from a photo in places that like hit me here. Do you know what I mean? Because I know I can crank up in my head what I'm seeing there and get back to the a little closer to what I was feeling from the light while I'm there. You know, and get that color back a little bit. If I ever got to the point that I could try to do it from here, I have no idea how to stream it. I can't imagine that the streams would be very good, but oh yeah. Okay. Well, like I said earlier, if you're looking for a place to, show stuff, talk about it, that's what I want this to really become. Um, yeah. If I have my druthers and it's my channel, I get to do what the hell I want. I'm going to be, varying from before the next painting. We'll be doing, like I said, stuff maybe with, looking at other artists, the things that influence me, talking about them, um, whatever works I can pull together. If I can make the slideshow right, hopefully. Um, Maybe compare it to stuff that I do and try to talk about it. And I'm all about critiques, like as long as they're constructive. I don't. I'll I'll shut anybody down that would be like, oh, you suck. But like unless they can follow it up with, if you did this, you wouldn't suck. But it used to piss my art teachers off in college. Like I went to the University of Arts and they didn't like me much when I was there, and I didn't like them much either. Yeah. Um, I was too stubborn of a mule to drop out of it and go somewhere else, but I ended up winning in the end because I won an award, sort of one of the more prestigious awards you can get there. And it's not chosen by the painting department; it's chosen by an outside group. So it was kind of a big middle finger. But I like I said, I really want this to be something where people can come in and show stuff and talk about it. So I hopefully will look forward to seeing something from you. The yeah, all I can say is like you said, you're going out. It lights so much better outside. So you're making me jealous. I'd love to go back to doing that again. I was getting all excited because my tulips are blooming outside, and well now they're past that point. But unfortunately, the way the weather's been this year for us here in PA, it was like 30 degrees like up until a week ago. I went with the production cyan magenta green, right? Is that the right ones? Yeah, right, cyan magenta. my big fights with them started basically freshman year when they. Uh, okay. Well, yeah, yeah. But the I'm trying to think if somebody would give me shit for that. Seem like, oh yeah, 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 true. I can agree with that. I just kind of get in arguments with them because I mean, they were technically, I guess, trying to look out for me, um, because I buy in huge tubes, it's bigger than I can get them, and I'm prone to wasting too, unfortunately, because I always want to. I never want to. I don't want to. I prefer not to mix when I can. Um, you know, just because I never really know how much I'm going to end up using. So either I overmix or or I try to go right from the tube and leave it with only whatever gets mixed on the canvas. Um, I don't think they really would have fought me too much. I'm trying to think if they gave me too much shit regarding color. I don't think they did because I think they realized quickly they were out of most of them at least were outmatched. Um, my fights with them became that like I said earlier, I'm very much in my head. I am an apprentice of Van Gogh. That's what I view it as. It's a master apprentice relationship, um, separated by almost 100 years. Um, and like I said, I'm searching for something here. I have. I said nothing that sounded like your fucking name. Okay. Anyway, I find myself mixing a lot more now. When I was in college, I didn't mix anything. Okay, I thought it was triggering again. Um, but they would always fight me on trying to get me away from the style. Um, they always were trying to, like, why don't you do this other thing? Why don't you do this other thing? And I kept trying to explain to them that, this idea that I had, what I'm trying to do, that I don't intend to stay always doing this. It's just I need to find what I'm looking for first. And they just never seemed to get that. There was only one guy that really seemed to understand what I was doing. His name was Jerry Nichols. And he would talk to me much more like we were contemporaries. Um, and he would show me people that either influenced Van Gogh or were influenced by him later down the line. Very clearly, like, here's what this person evolved from with it. Um, and so he was like the one cool guy, um, at least for me. I had one teacher that I'll say I didn't like his work. He painted a lot of moose. I mean, that's it. Like, he'd paint moose and trout. Um, I liked him as a person, though. Like, he was a really cool guy. He knew, like, he had these crazy ass stories of people that he knew. Um, he had been a student at the same time as Chuck Close was and stuff like that. So these are the type of people he knew. Um, but I just didn't like his work, so it was hard to take stuff that he would say and accept it. Um, but most of them, we just fought all the time. And my senior year, Jerry Nichols was supposed to be my senior teacher, and he ended up going on sabbatical. So they gave me this other guy, and me and him butted heads the whole year. And then, as I'm graduating, the Roman Haas Fine Arts Achievement Award is picked by the Roman Haas goes to they would go to every school in the Philadelphia area, every art school, and they would go through the entire school. So not just the painting department. They would go through painting, illustration, sculpture, jewelry, graphic design. What was the I'm trying to think of the other some of the weirder classes like animation. They would go through industrial design. They would go through the whole school, and they would pick one piece from all those segments, and they picked mine. And then they had this luncheon for us and everything, and they wrote a check for me, which was nice. And then they bought the painting basically for that check. And when I'm in that luncheon, the teacher of the year, my senior year teacher's with me, and he's there, and he starts talking to me, and he tore the painting apart that won during my critique. I mean, literally told me it was a failure, that he doesn't even understand what I was trying to say about it, blah, blah, blah. And he ripped that thing to shreds. And then we're in the luncheon, and he leans over to me, and he goes, Brian, you know the thing I like about this piece? And he starts trying to rattle off some stuff. And I turned right at him, and I went, Jerry. It was a different Jerry. There were like 3 Jerrys there. Anyway, it's like, this isn't your victory. I said, you guys fought me tooth and nail for 4 fucking years. And now you're telling me you like my stuff? No, this isn't your victory. I won in spite of you guys. And the rest of that luncheon, because it was another hour, it was quite awkward. It was something else, I'll tell you that. Yeah, I mean that's it. Yeah, it was fun. It was it was definitely interesting. I mean, I took teaching classes when I was there. I didn't want to become a teacher without having done something with my work. And I now my friends and I always used to joke that me as a teacher would be like borderline Nazi teacher, telling kids that they're not listening to me, they get sent to the kiln. That you would do the sculpture hardening in. Just cram them in. But the it's if they were teaching it on a rules basis, I guess I would see that. But it seemed like if you went on a realist type style, you were left alone. They didn't bother you at all. If you went super abstract, they left you alone. They didn't bother you at all. But because I'm in this style that look, one guy did it. I mean, and I'm not ever going to argue that. People look at my work and they go, "Oh, it's Van Gogh." There's no other person really that really went after something like this. Early Picasso, he touched on a little bit. Maybe early Duchamp, like really early Duchamp. Maybe, sort of. I'm trying to think, but nobody else really in art history really went after it like that. It was like, oh, that's Van Gogh style, and that's Van Gogh style, and they left it. And and I understand the validity of that, and I do get it. And I wish they could have heard me better when I was telling them, look, I would love to study these things, but if you guys could help me find this first, whatever it is I'm trying to find here, that would be pretty sweet. And it seemed like they were, no, Um, as I said, really, Jerry was the only one who seemed to sort of talk about it a little bit. Um, yeah, he'd give me different ideas about how to do something and do it in another way sometimes. I remember one conversation we had regarding portraits, and he said, I had a student that did, after he graduated, he would do portraits of his friends, but he'd never painted their faces. He painted the drinks that they would drink. So, his friends, they're drinking martinis. He'd paint their martinis. He'd paint their whiskey sours, whatever it may be. And I was like, that's fucking cool. Yeah. But see, I actually do kind of go with that. I mean, well, it's not. I won't say that. It's not that the eyes. Um, I'm trying to get the eyes to mix it, but it's about pulling out those moments where in nature you would have it mixed. Um, so when I looking at something like this, when it's especially when it comes to like wood or leaves in nature, what I always talk about is like that moment when the leaf that you were looking at gets hit with a little gust of wind and turns. So it picks up that, you know, that extra light. Yeah, and I guess that's what it is. I mean, and so that's how I'm always looking at it. Is I'm trying to give you this movement, this of excuse me, beer burps. You know, to capture that breeze there, or capture the way the water is just mixing in. Because the other thing about this specific area, the reason there's these definite lumps here, there's actually a little waterfall right here. Like, if 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 we're to scale, just about where I am now, there's a waterfall that kind of goes at this angle. So, it's nothing big. It's not like it's not Niagara or anything. It's just like a little damn waterfall. Um, and so I'm trying to get that movement and let it. So you got the water blowing, the sediment underneath of it, the reflections from the trees and the grass and all the shit that's gonna be over here. Um, which is why I think I need to hold off on this now for a little bit and then put those in first to get an idea. But all right, I have got to cut it. It has been an awesome conversation. Um, please click the follow button, dude. I'd love you to know when I'm on here. So, um, and yeah, I gotta get to hay though, so I'm ready to go to my horrible job tomorrow, and hopefully still have energy tomorrow when we're streaming again. So, I look forward to seeing you again, dude. All right. Oh, cool. Supposed to. All right. Did you click when I was up? Because I didn't get the little zombie dude. Um, usually it gives me like scares the hell out of me because I'm not used to it yet. So that's awesome. All right, man. Have a good night.